Well, let's start with Anais.
We have made a statement, and we'll wait until the facts come out, and we have no more comment at this particular time.
Disappointed in him?
I have no more comment at this particular time.
The big distraction, isn't it?
I have no more comment at this particular time.
Coach Saban made a comment saying he had no more issues or problems with you, and just what are your thoughts on the whole NIL
Just say-
situation?
I have no more. I have no problem with Coach Saban, and the NIL is a very hot topic as far as we need uniformity. We're not operating by the same rules anywhere. Each state has its own set of rules, and like for Texas, for instance, we cannot talk to a player about an offer. We cannot talk about NIL to them. We cannot present it in any way. Certain states can have written offers. They can put things on paper. They can give them to high school kids. They can present them to written offers to kids. There's a lot of things like that. You know what I mean? All we can present is say what our guys have had in the past or what goes on, and that. So I mean, and I use that for an example. There's dysfunction across the board, but you know that's something that we have to live with right now. We'll all have to adjust and do whatever our state laws say we can do.
Do you have any confidence that NCAA or Congress? or
NCAA
somebody-
cannot do that. It has to be Congress, and that will be in time. That will take time. As you know, everything in Congress takes. So I think for at least a couple of years, you're going to be at whatever the state laws are, and you're going to have this. You're not going to have no uniformity. But in college football, there's not much uniformity in anything.
Sorry, it's fun for fans and writers to talk about and so forth. How much fun is it for you to have a legitimate three-way quarterback battle going into camp, and how long do you see?
Well, it's fun to have three really good players. As you saw last year, we needed them. We would have needed three theoretically, but if Zach hadn't a battle back in the Alabama game and the Auburn game, we would have needed three quarterbacks. I mean, you have to have depth, and that's one of the hardest positions to get depth. And I think we have three highly, highly talented guys and capable guys to be able to go into. So it's going to be very exciting.
Jimbo, are y'all to the point?
I'm sorry.
Do you see it stretching into well into August?
I have
maybe?
no. I don't. They tell you when the battle's ready.
Jimbo, your program now as you go into your fifth year. Are you?
I'm very excited about it as much as I've ever been. Probably we're in a better position going in right now for the future of our organization since I've been here.
So you're at
by
a point
far.
now to be.
Well, I'm not. I'm
to
excited
contend.
about where we are right now going in. We have a lot of youth on this football team. It's only 11 seniors, but there's a very talented group of guys, and that's what makes it exciting to watch those guys who takes a step up, you know, and who's ready right immediately. But I like the depth. It's the first time we've had the amount of depth we've had, the quality of players at all positions, the competition at positions across the board, and getting a lot of guys back from last year too. And we're talking about, you had a lot of injured guys that didn't get to play last year. And there's some guys that I think will really make a contribution in some key moments and key parts. So I'm as confident going in as far as the future of our organization right now as I have been since I've been there.
It's still real early, but how have you thought the freshmen that have gotten on?
We have adjusted very well. The 11 guys that came in, the 11 different people that came in early, played significant roles in spring, got very valuable experience, and you saw all their talent and what they have to do. Now these guys coming in, these freshmen have worked very hard on the best girl. As a matter of fact, I watched them work out yesterday, lift and do the things they had to do. Big bodies, athletic, long, great attitudes, love football. And I think that's a matter. Listen, a lot of guys are talented and like to play football. A lot of guys don't love everything that goes with football. And the guys that are successful do, and this group has done a really good job coming in.
I know you
can't
expect
talk-
like half or more to contribute?
I have no idea.
But you're,
We'll see in practice.
yeah.
I know you can't talk specifics, but where do you feel like you are in this 2023 recruiting class?
Very good. You remember last year we weren't very far along either, as far as what you consider far along. And listen, none of them are far along until they sign, no matter if they're committed or not. But we feel extremely good at where we're at and what's going on.
I'm curious to ask you what you think is the ceiling, the potential for Edgerrin Cooper, and how close is he to it?
I really think he took a lot of steps forward in the spring because Edgerrin is extremely athletic, can run, will hit you. Great guy. I think he's really slowed down. The game has slowed down for him, learning how to play behind plays and be very patient until he explodes with his athleticism, not try to make all the plays with just athleticism. I don't mean that. That was just out of, he loves to play. And I think the game has slowed down, and he has a chance to be a very, very good football player because he can run, he can hit, and now he knows his gap control, but he's learning the patience and the eye control and the discipline that he has to have with it, and I'm excited for him to have a good year. Really
How good can the secondary be, Coach? I mean,
very good. There's a lot of depth. There's a
veterans.
lot of competition. There's a lot of versatility, which I think is extremely important in today's game. because of the matchups to be able to how safeties have to play like corners, corners have to play like safeties at time. I mean, from tackling to covering, all the different things and the body types at which we have. I'm very excited, and the depth in which we have, which I think, you know, we had some young guys that really had to play last year. And some of our injuries a year ago, like I say, on the offensive line, in the secondary, a receiver, some different things, I think really will, as that last year were not burdens, as you say, but were tough situations, will really benefit us this year.
When you
How's
look
the-
back at last season, do you think it was successful, and what has to happen?
No,
this
I
year
mean,
for
until you
to
win a
be
championship, I
successful?
mean, win all your games, that's what you're trying to do, but maximize the talent that you have. And we were, like I say, we won 8 games. That's not enough for us, and we knew that. But it's the same thing we had at the beginning. We had some critical injuries. I mean, you lost a center, you lost a tackle, had 2 freshmen up front. You lost your corners. People forget you lost both corners. Had to play both of those guys. Miles Jones not being there, Brian George not being there. Those guys that played. You lost your quarterback. You lost our receiver, 81. I mean, having him as a big play guy with those guys coming in was really critical in what you had to do. So, I mean, you lost those guys, but at the same time, that's going to benefit you this year. And we need to maximize what we have. And we could have won them all last year. But all the games in this league are tight. All those games were winnable, and we didn't finish. What was disappointing to me, we didn't finish the last 2 games, 2 of the 3 losses at the end like we should have, and had those games, even though we played very poorly on defense and offense in the first half of the Ole Miss game. Then we had chances in the Ole Miss. We're make the catch. We're ahead in the third quarter, rolling around. And then in the fourth quarter, we didn't stop a drive. We get a poor call in the LSU game, and then we don't stop a drive. We still give them an 80-yard drive, and we're sitting there 10, 11 wins and what you're doing. But that's this league every year, and you got to learn to finish. But no, we were not satisfied at all, but I'm very excited about where we're going and where the future of this thing's going.
How's the adjustment with DJ Durkin been so far?
Very good. Very good. They've done a great job.
You got a
Well,
ton
the
of
win
potential
over-
up front on the defensive line, but not a whole lot of experience.
I disagree with that a little bit. I think there is some. I'm very excited about our offensive defensive line. I think that's where we made tremendous strides in the spring. Our defensive front up front. I mean, you're talking about getting McKinley Jackson back, who played with a hurt over the labrum tear all year last year. Isaiah Rakes, Shamar Turner inside, Albert Regis inside, and then your guys that you just signed with Dindy and Big Walter Nolan, those guys all in there and what you're trying to do. And then your ends, to me, say in that group, I mean, it's a very talented group with a good group. And Fidel Diggs, I thought, had an outstanding spring. I thought played very well. Anthony Lucas is young guys that can play. I'm very excited about that
Yeah,
group.
well-
Plus the freshmen coming in.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the pass rush. Do you feel like y'all have the guys that can
Oh, no doubt.
take the play for you?
do.
Lose a Leal and Clemens and
Well, yeah, and you got and pass rush can come from blitzes. It can come from this. It can come from interior guys. You understand something? Pass rush nowadays, interior guys are just as vital as outside guys. And yes, I do. In the spring, they did a really nice job.
The win over Alabama.
But that's always critical.
The win over Alabama, the benefits that you reap from that and the credibility your program gives.
Well, it does, but listen, you got to win them all. Every game's an important game in this league, and every game, everybody in this league can beat you, and that's what you find out. So, I mean, you've won every game, and you prove it, but we need to finish the other games too.
With the recruiting class, do you feel like you have a total number that you want to see when it ultimately shakes out?
Yeah, I mean, I like where we're at and the depth we have now. Again, those young freshmen, you can't put some of those guys will be ready to play, some of them won't, and it won't be a indictment on what their futures are going to be. We just have to let that play out, and then we'll see where that goes when practice comes. But 11 of them we've seen. Hopefully they'll take another step, and some of these guys will jump up there and play early. I mean, but some won't. I mean, you don't know. Some of the older guys, the competition, raising up. That's why you wait for fall practice. But the good thing you have depth and you have competition, which makes you better.
Jimbo, you mentioned not having the big play receiver when Caleb got hurt.
Well, I don't say we didn't. No, I didn't say. I said he hurt us when he left. I didn't say we
okay.
lost a big play.
But do you feel
No.
like you have that guy?
Yes, I do. I think we got guys can get deep. I think some of these freshmen, I think some are upperclassmen. I think Chase has had a really good spring and an outstanding thing. I think they're nice, was in that group in the spring, but we don't know if we'll have him, so we'll have to wait and see. So the other guys, these freshmen are good. I think Devin Price really took some critical steps coming forward, so we'll wait and see. And I think the receiving skills of our backs, having the chain, and not only in the running game but the passing game. He is a legitimate big-time receiver as long as a running back.
Jimbo, do you need your quarterbacks to play at an elite level, game
Yes,
management level?
you got to have.
Okay.
Here's what
We
you
haven't seen
see.
it.
This terms you've seen it.
Kellen, yes.
Well, that's the only these three you haven't seen play. You
But
saw-
I'm just saying, do they need to play? I mean,
yes, and you guys say game management. That's the greatest compliment a guy can have. All your great quarterbacks are game managers. Your greatest quarterbacks are game managers. We put a tag on these guys. I don't know why you've got it in the press. Game managers are what great quarterbacks are. They manage the game and they make plays and they get the ball distribution-wise to other players, and other guys have to catch it and do something with it and where they're going. But no, they need to play well. But I think we have a very well-rounded team. I think we're going to be able to run the football. I think we can throw the football, and we got to get better at throwing the football. There's no doubt about that, and then we'll go where we have to go.
How would your development at Texas A&M, you said you're excited about it fifth year, compare to what went on at Florida State?
Very similar. Guys, what we got and what we've recruited and what we have going forward, and also setting a culture. You're setting a demand. You can't compare programs. You don't compare where you're at before to now. What you have at the program and where it comes in and what the culture of a place was and what we've established here and where we're going. You can't compare different programs to different places. I don't compare Florida State to Texas A&M. There's not a timetable. There's a cultural change, a winning change, a recruiting change, all those types of things. And I feel, like I said, I'm as excited about where we're at right now with the players we have on our football team as I have since we've been here. And that's no knock on anybody in the past, but we have young, really good players. We have older guys who can really play and understand the game. I think it's going to be a good mix, and I think it's really set for the future, especially to what we've had recruited and what we are recruiting right now.
Can't compare because they're just such different places. I
You
mean,
never compare any programs. Programs are always different. You can't compare any programs when where you come and what you come into in a different
Do
situation.
you feel like one of the favorites to win the SEC this
Yeah,
year?
I do.
All right, gang, if we, gang, if we.
Elaborate.
I feel like we're going to win every game.
Yeah.
That's our goal, and that's the way our players feel, and that's the way we feel.